I think something very strange is happening to work in America. People have jobs, companies have job openings. Unemployment isn't exploding. Layoffs aren't happening everywhere. And somehow, nobody feels secure. That's the part I can't get over. If you listen to the official numbers, you might think the job market isn't that terrible. But then you actually talk to people. You hear something completely different. People are sending out applications and hearing nothing. People are applying for jobs they are completely qualified for and getting rejected. People are going through 3, 4, sometimes 5 interviews only to get ghosted. People are working jobs they absolutely hate because they're terrified that if they quit, they won't find another one. And I think we've entered a completely different kind of job crisis. It's not necessarily mass unemployment. It's something quieter. People are getting stuck. The job market feels frozen. That's the word I would use. Frozen. Companies aren't necessarily firing everybody, but they're not aggressively hiring either. Workers aren't necessarily quitting, but that doesn't mean they're happy. It means they're scared. And there's a big difference. There was a time when quitting a bad job felt like a reasonable decision. You didn't like your boss? Find another job. That pay wasn't good enough? Find another job. You wanted something closer to home. Find another job. You wanted better hours. Find another job. That advice sounds completely different when finding another job can take months. Suddenly quitting isn't freedom. It's a financial gamble. People can't afford to gamble anymore. That's what makes this economy so difficult. Maybe somebody has $20,000 sitting in the bank and can quit tomorrow. Good for them. Most people don't have that luxury. They have rent. They have groceries. They have credit cards. They have car payments. They have insurance. They have children. They have electricity bills. They have debt. They have an entire financial machine waiting every month with its hand out. So somebody might wake up every morning absolutely miserable about going to work. They hate the commute. They hate the job. They hate their boss. They're exhausted. They're burned out. And they still go. Not because they're passionate about their career. Because rent is due. That's a completely different relationship with work. Having a job doesn't mean you're okay. This is something I think gets ignored constantly. We treat employment like a binary condition. Employed, everything is fine. Unemployed, there's a problem. Life doesn't work that way. Somebody can have a job and still be broke. Somebody can have a job and still be searching for another job. Somebody can have a job and still be terrified of losing their apartment. Somebody can have a job and still be putting groceries on a credit card. Somebody can have a job and still have absolutely no idea how they're going to retire. Employment isn't the same thing as economic security. And I think millions of Americans are discovering that. Then artificial intelligence shows up. Now throw AI into this situation. That's where things become even stranger. Artificial intelligence hasn't simply walked into every office and fired everyone. The reality is more complicated. AI can increase productivity. It can automate certain tasks. It can allow existing employees to accomplish more. And that creates another possibility. Maybe companies don't need to fire millions of workers. Maybe they simply don't hire the next person. An employee leaves. Instead of replacing them, the company redistributes the work. Someone retires. The position disappears. A department that once had 10 employees operates with 8, then 7, then 6. The company continues functioning. Maybe profits even increase. But somewhere out there, 6 people are applying for a position that no longer exists. That's how the job market can deteriorate without some dramatic unemployment. The missing jobs are invisible. Think about this. We can count layoffs. We can count unemployment claims. We can count people who lose jobs. But how do you count a job that was never created? You can't. There's no headline. Nobody gets a termination letter. Nobody files for unemployment. The company simply decides we don't need another person. That's it. And multiply that decision across thousands of businesses. That's where I think AI could have one of its biggest effects. Not necessarily replacing everybody tomorrow, reducing the number of people companies need over time. And if that happens, competition for the remaining jobs becomes brutal.